Imagine a league built by the people, for the people. A league dedicated to the economic development of your city. So the question becomes, how good are the 32 teams that play in the minor football league? Well, there's only one way to find out. You have to experience the MFL.
Welcome to another edition of Inside the MFL. I'm your host, Dr. Richie D. Myles Sr., CEO, Chairman, Founder of the Minor Football League. Today is Good Friday. I want everybody to be very careful out there. This is the Holy Friday. This whole weekend, Palm Sunday is coming up. I want everybody to be especially careful. Make sure you keep the mask on. Keep the mask on. Do not take the mask off or take things for granted because it's not over yet. I got my guest today, and everybody get excited. When we have him on, Mr. Tate. How you doing, Mr. Tate?
I'm doing fine, Mr. Myles. Well, Dr. Myles. Boy, I tell you, it gets so hard sometimes to get excited about the MFL, and you got all your gear on. You looking real fresh and proper. You get a shot, and it seemed like that shot for COVID is a shot for some excitement about the MFL.
Well, we have to play the part. We as Black people, the biggest consumers in America, we have nothing to show for it. Now we want people to understand here's a league for the people and by the people, for the economic development, meaning, we have an opportunity. We are the laboratory of change, Mr. Tate. We want people to come here. We want to bring former players from the field to the front office. That's what the MFL is about, generational wealth. We get ready to kick the season off. As you know, Mr. Tate, the countdown is on. The 25th of June, the MFL will kick off. As you can see, all the schedules up. We still waiting on, the powers to be as far as the venues and stuff. But I'm, like I say, God's in charge. I'm not worried about it. This COVID, though as bad as it was, it made people sit back and say, wait a minute. Because that way God tried to tell you something. And I tell people all the time, God's in charge. And then we just have to go about things differently. We got to understand the norm is gone. This is the norm, Mr. Tate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the normal. And man, Dr. Myles, the thing is, despite what we're having to deal with in regard to COVID, as you mentioned, this is adversity, and certainly this is what the MFL means, dealing with adversity. And that's what you have done for, 25 years, Dr. Myles. You talking, over two, this it's just unbelievable. I get just lost and choked up, for a person that has done the kind of work. People just don't know how tirelessly you work on the MFL to bring value to the communities. 32 communities around the United States that you bring in value to?
Abroad now. We're going abroad.
And abroad. I'm just focus on home, on the home front.
But you got to go with us now. Miss Tate, you going over there with us too now.
I know. I'm
not doing it by myself. You guys are part of it.
As you've always said, it's a laboratory of change. And in that laboratory, there are many people working in there. Your greatest resource is your human resource. Right. And so I'm just happy to know that I'm associated with a gentleman such as yourself, who is really committed to helping people. Look, at the end of the day, this is about entertainment. But you trying to help people while providing entertainment to the consumers. I mean, you work hard, you do 8 hours. I don't even know if people do 8 hours any longer. I mean, we just use the word 8 hours. They actually work in 10 hours, 12 hours, 14 hours. People working hard. They come home, they sit down at the TV or their computer or with their cell phone, they're going all through the social networks, and you taking advantage of the technology. You'll be able to watch the games on your cell phone, on your TV, on your laptop. I mean, the social networks, you all over the place. You're all over the place. And everybody, the young man we had on the show on Wednesday, he was excited. Look at this young man's face. He thought it was Christmas time, man, that he get a chance to live his dream. And in most cases, if, as we talked about, if he really makes the commitment, this young man is going to find himself playing in the NFL. And guess what? We ain't mad at him.
And that's what it's all about.
This is what the MFL does, is prepare these young men for the next level. This is what we're doing. So I just stop and say, the fans, Dr. Myles, the fans are in for a treat, because the MFL, despite all that has gone on this year, is ready, is prepared to make this thing happen. They ready. So I can't say no more to you than, hey, Mr. Myles, let's get this, as they say, let's get ready to rumble. Let's get this show on the road, baby. Let's go.
Absolutely. And, I know the weather is getting it's a little chilly up here, but down in Atlanta, I know the weather is a lot warmer down there. And I know that y'all getting ready. We look at the GM we got down there, he's doing a great job. Mr. Chuck Barlow with the Georgia Warriors. And I know you down there hands-on, helping out as much as you can, being a part of the MFL front office. So, Mr. Tate, it's just good to find out that finally people of color is doing something. Not saying that we're anti anything else, you know what I mean? But Absolutely. We're talking about people of color have an opportunity. And we want to reach out to these young people. The MFL is a laboratory of change, but we want young men to understand, you're not going to that NFL draft. You're not going to be in that. And that's not a bad thing, because we're the only developmental league in the country, period, bar none. And, we're not bashing nobody else. We want you to just come take a look at the MFL. Come experience what we're doing and the things that we're doing. We are developing players. And as you stated earlier with the young man we had on the show on Wednesday, think about it, 6'6", 265. You should see him in the drill. So the young man got a future. But, we understand that it's not that a lot of players are not good enough to play in that other league. It's not enough room. Just simple as that. But in the meantime, you cannot go home, sit on the couch, and mope. You have a developmental league right here where you can sharpen your skills even more. And more importantly, you are playing. They get a chance to see you now. Mm-hmm. Because when they're not going, we are. So we get an opportunity to showcase a lot of players, in these different venues that we had these teams that you think about these franchise, the Washington Chiefs, the Maryland Coast. You look at the Chargers up in New York. You look at the right up there in New Jersey, the Raiders. You look at the Saints up in Philadelphia. You go down south a little more, you're looking at the Georgia Warriors, okay? The South Carolina Outlaws, the North Carolina Oilers, Tennessee Patriots. Look at the Florida Bears, the Florida 49ers. I mean, come up a little more, then you go to Texas. You talk about the Houston Rams, you know what I mean? San Antonio Steelers, you know what I mean? Okay, then you're looking at the Cardinals up there in East Texas. Then you're talking about down in Oklahoma. Down there you have the Cowboys. And then Louisiana, you have the Packers. the Louisiana Packers, and then the 16 franchise that's over Africa. So you are getting the opportunity that you've been asking for, and some people sit back. It ain't no time to hold your head now. You don't have to feel like you're still relevant, and the MFL call on you guys in the HBCU school. Okay, you've been looked over. Don't keep dwelling on that. You have an opportunity to play and show people what you can really do. And you have people of the caliber that we have here that know the game. We have some great GMs here. We have some great coaches. And it goes back to what we say. This is the laboratory of change. We want to bring former players from the field to the front office. And these are the type of things that the MFL is doing. And more importantly, the fact that we have people like Mr. Tate and even what, and I'd like for you to speak on that briefly about the Watkins Award, because these are athletes, not just athletes on the field, but in the classroom, academically, and what these guys are achieving. I mean, maybe people know a lot about it, and if they don't, we're going to always share this platform and let them know about the Watkins, because they got to know about guys like that come to the Watkins Award, and these guys going to play in the league and they Rhodes Scholars and stuff. Just take a 5 minutes to talk about that. And because your organization that you have and you're a part of, Mr. Tate, it was just a no-brainer for us to be a part of it, and we're glad to be a part of it.
I'm gracious that you would even give me the time, and I'm honored, no doubt, that on a MFL show that you would allow me to talk about the Watkins Award. You're just too kind, Dr. Myles. But when I was, I heard about you when I was a young man, of course. Matter of fact, I was a kid then. I'm not trying to expose your age. But when I was a kid, because you are, most people don't understand your background, but you're a legend. You are a legend, Dr. Myles. Unfortunately, you and I went to competing schools. Being from Cardozo and Dunbar, that was competing schools.
All of those guys, I grew up in the same neighborhood with them.
Oh man, those were the good old days. Those were the good old days. My mother, she graduated from Cardozo, and Mama, of course, she was older than you were, but Mama would tell me the history of Cardozo. And I remember Mama telling me the history of Marvin Gaye and how Marvin would.
You didn't know.
Man, he would be walking through the hallways and singing, and people would be telling him to shut up, and look at what Marvin Gaye was able to do. Man, think about the real history of Washington, D.C.
We walk with John.
What went on. And when someone finally introduced me to, or reintroduced me to you, Dr. Myles, I mean, man, I was almost speechless. I'm like, Richard Myles, Cardozo High School, and it's something that you are so humble. You don't really talk about, hey, I was all American, all Met. I left here and went to college, went to a Power 5 school. I left there and played in the NFL. Man, it's so beautiful to not only see your energy in regards to your love for Cardozo, but your love for the game of football and trying to give these other young men like a David Hipner opportunity to live out his dream. Man, it's just unbelievable. But let me just say, the Watkins Award allows me to live out my dream, because by the time, most people don't know my story, but the short of it is I was over there at Dunbar playing 5 sports. I was playing everything to stay out of trouble. That was my way to stop from being a victim of the circumstances and making the circumstances a victim of me. As you know, DC, just like any major city, had its own set of problems. Mm-hmm. And those problems allowed me to really be focused to get out of it, to really get out of what was happening in DC. But knowing that by the time I was a senior at Dunbar, I didn't realize this until I was much older. Playing all those sports from elementary school to by the time I get to high school, I was burnt out. Mm-hmm. And people say, well, how in the world can you get burnt out? Man, look here. I was not only playing, when I was in elementary school and then going to junior high school, some people say junior high school. What do you mean by that? Well, in DC, we had junior high schools. You went from 7th, 8th to 9th grade. Here in the South, in a lot of other places, they have middle school. Mm-hmm. And middle school is 6th, 7th, and 8th. Mm-hmm. Okay. And high schools are 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. So I guess it was safer not to put those 9th graders in high school. Because I know when I went to Dunbar, I'm in the 10th grade, I was already prepared mentally to deal with what I was going to deal with. I mean, them dudes was like, hey, man, when you get up there, you got to be, know where you're going, know what you're doing. I was already approached by some seniors because I lived in Northeast. Mm-hmm. And I'm coming to school in Northwest.
Right.
But, that's a whole nother story because I know I need to talk about the Watkins Award, but I just want to say that because of sports, I could walk from one end of DC
anywhere in the city
to the other end because of sports.
Because of sports, absolutely.
Sports was recognizable in DC.
All over, absolutely.
It was recognizable.
You are so right about that, Mr. Tate. Didn't mean to cut you off because I
know.
I was in Southeast. And I was getting ready. I was at this party, and these guys realized I was from Northwest and make things bad. I had a Cardozo jacket on. So the guys was getting ready to jump in, and Anacostia players was there. Mayo and all of them. They was like, and the guy said, man, this dude over here. The guy said, man, that's Myles right there. They said, who? He said, man, that's Myles. He played for Cardozo. This ain't happening. Y'all ain't doing nothing to him. And they were like, man, you taking up him. He said, y'all ain't doing nothing to him, man. That's Myles, that motherfucker bad boy. He played all that linebacker stuff. They walked me to my car, and I drove over here. And because I played football, and that's something, one thing about athletes, if you're from DC, we know you are. You know,
absolutely.
And they won't go touch you. I mean, and that really happened with me. So I can really identify that. You feel like, you're Northwest. And a lot of people didn't realize it was a thing between Northeast and Northwest, Northwest and Northeast, Southeast. It was just some lines you wasn't supposed to cross. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you were so right about that statement.
Man, come on. I mean, you and I can do a show just on that.
Oh, man. And we will one day.
And we will. Because like you, I remember being in, look, I'm not trying to say the place was that bad, but it is what it is. I was over in Searching Quarter. Mm-hmm. And it was one way in and one way out.
Right.
And some dudes was getting ready. I'm getting ready, having to fight my way out there. And one of those guys over there said, man, don't you know who that is? And said, oh, that's Tyrone Tate, man. Mm-hmm. Man, I was boxing. I live in Northeast, but I'm boxing for number 2 Boys Club.
Mr. Butler was there.
Mr. Butler was there.
My man, what did you just say? Hey, baby.
Man, come and see, on top of it, you just really just put the icing on the cake or the cherry on top of the ice cream.
Nice.
Man, I had two people who were older than I was. And those 2 people, by the time I got to junior high school, I knew them. Well, I knew one of them when I was in elementary school because he lived only a few blocks from me. The other one, I met him when he was in junior high school over at Turl. The one was Bebe. But everybody knew who Bebe was.
Right.
And Bebe was like a brother to me, man. I mean, that dude was like a brother to me. And the other one was Kanias Green.
Yep.
I mean, who didn't know those two jokers in the city of Washington, D.C.? Man, because I had both of them, one on one shoulder, the other one on the other shoulder. Man, I could walk anywhere in the city. Everybody said, oh, that's Bebe's little brother there. That's Kania's little brother there. They call Kania's Butch. That's Butch's little brother there. I could get anywhere. So the love of sports, man, I love sports so much. I was doing so much. I just realized that the energy I pour into these young men that come through the Watkins Award. And the Watkins Award is no more than a trophy that recognizes the top African-American scholar athlete. Look, I don't have nothing against anybody. I'm just pro African-American. That's all.
There you go.
I mean, is it anything wrong with being like that? Man, I'll coach anybody. Man, I've coached all kind of kids, all kind of nationalities, all kind of religion. I've coached them. I've been their personal coach. I pour into kids. That's what I love. I love kids because kids, what happens is kids don't, they are not born to be racist. They are taught to be racist.
Absolutely.
That's all it boils down to. So, you know, you can put a group of kids together, babies. You put a bunch of babies together, and guess what? Those babies are not going to cause any problem. But I pour in the energy with these guys at the Watkins Award, and we recognize the top African-American scholar athletes. And we just appreciate your support, Dr. Myles, when you come to our events that have been all over the United States. And ever since we've come to Washington, D.C., you have been a supporter of the Watkins Award. We have honored the top scholar athletes. You know, I say this on my Monday show all the time. And what I say is, I don't want to put no one through shock. I really don't, because people always hear about the bad side of everything. But my life that has helped to prepare me as a man coming out of Washington, D.C., and the love that everyone has shown me. As I mentioned, my incident down there in Search and Quarter, man, to this day, I still talk to that guy named Earl. Earl, man, I love him. Like, man, I love all the people that, man, from one side of that's home. That's home, and we love the place. But I just say to you that the Watkins Award has the top scholar athletes in the country, if not in the world. You got guys who end up being 5-star athletes, being All-American in football, baseball, and basketball. The Watkins Award honors these top African-American scholar senior athletes. And the Minor Football League has come to our events every year in Washington, D.C. So I just want to thank you. I just want to thank, and they can go by the website and see some of the players that we've had over the years. Even on the Washington Football Club, we've had a couple of players to come through there. You know, Lorenzo Alexander always talks about the fan base in Washington, D.C. He says there is no truer fan. And Lorenzo Alexander, who have come through our program, he went to Cal Berkeley. We're not talking about a dumb kid. We talking about a young man who come out of the hood of Oakland, was raised by his mother. Go and look at one of the former podcasts where I interviewed him, where he said the influence in his life was his uncle. His mama was raising his family, and his uncle stepped in and nurtured him and guided him. And so that's what the Watkins Award is all about nurturing and guiding. And guess what? I found out when I met you, when I was reintroduced to you, because I keep saying I had met you a long time ago, but it was, you was an icon, man. You was a rock star, and still is a rock star in Washington, D.C. Dr. Myles, you are a rock star, and you're still humble. You still humble. But when Lorenzo talked about the nurturing and the camaraderie, is certainly being a person that mentored him, his uncle mentoring him and guiding him. Well, that's what we do with the Watkins Award. We help to mentor these kids and help to guide them and give them direction, and their families, from high school to college into the real world. And if it means that in the real world they get a chance to play in the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, that's great. They still need to be mentored. How many times have you seen NFL players get into trouble? How many times have you seen?
Always. And somehow staff even interviewed Lorenzo
Alexander.
Yeah. And we have pictures of that. We'll send it to you. Some of my staff interview. You know how we be doing the interviews. But
yes, sir.
To piggyback off what you said, didn't mean to cut you off.
No, please.
People's opinion of you don't have to be your reality. You know. Right. And that's something that we try to stress here all the time with the minor football league. And we tell people all the time, everybody know the glory, but they don't know the story behind these things. You know what I mean? They don't know the story. It's the story. And you are a storyteller because you know these kids, man. You talk about me, but see, listen, Tate, you're someone that don't mind standing in the background. And then people have to say, because I know people came to me and say, so what, Mr. Tate? I said, they say, that's Mr. Tate. And small stature mean big person, And I'm like, this guy is extraordinary. That's why I always want, and your show and everybody speaks so very highly of it. But then again, I already know that he's from DC. You know what I mean? So, we have that about us from DC. We can go anywhere and we can fit in. But getting back to your story about the Watkins Award, it's important that people hear about these young scholar athlete guys. And, I'm excited about that. That's why I love and give you this platform to talk about that, because people need to know there's more to life than football. You can't do that forever. That's why we have the program for athletes beyond the field. What about beyond the field? Then what happened? Yeah, you get that money in that big league, but it doesn't come with any instructions. So people like you, Mr. Tate, is very invaluable to these young men. And I'm just, I can't say enough about you and the walking program to help these individuals, because, people need to know about it.
Oh, absolutely. And as I mentioned to you, I really appreciate the time. I don't want to use up all of that time. Look, the Watkins Award,
the MFL.
I know the Watkins Award is what it is, and as you indicated, the MFL has supported us. You've come out, man. When you come, you bring cameras, lights, action, and then you bring Miss Kelsey out there, man. I mean, you sprinkle your sunshine around this place, man. It's a lot of excitement that follows you, Dr. Myles.
That was coming from the different schools, and it gives them an opportunity to work on their craft in terms of they in school for journalists and stuff. They get a chance to interview guys like Lorenzo. I mean, that's big. Interview people like yourself. Although you don't like to be interviewed, I always be pushed. Listen, get up there, come on, because it's very important for these people to understand the caliber people that you're around. That after a while they see them again. They say, "Wait a minute, I interview." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's invaluable for us to be there, and we're glad to be a part of it.
Well, one of the things about the MFL that people really don't understand, Dr. Myles, is the fact that you use the word, and I keep going back to it, the laboratory of change.
Absolutely.
That you giving young men and young ladies an opportunity to live out their dream, whether it's on the field or off the field. You allow, look, the Washington football team, the Washington
I'm getting
football
used
team.
to it too, Mr. Tate.
Yeah, I know. The Washington football team just hired a female coach.
Right.
They got a female coach over there. So they giving this young lady an opportunity to live out her dream. Now, the MFL is giving anyone who steps up to the table and says, I'm willing to accept the responsibility. I want to be a coach. I want to be an administrator. I want to learn all about ticket distribution. I want to learn about marketing. I want to learn about the social networks. I want to learn about director of operation. Whatever you want, this is what the MFL wants to offer you.
They're playing.
Here's my resume, ma'am. Here's my resume. So what have you done? Oh, I've worked for the MFL. Well, what have you done with the MFL? Well, I've done exactly what I know I can bring to the table and help you in your league, ma'am or sir. And it doesn't mean that they got to go to the NFL. They can go to Major League Baseball with the same skills. Listen to what I just said. I said the person comes in, they have an interest in becoming a ticket administrator. So they come in and it's a whole lot to do with these tickets now. It's not like you go and stand in line and you can get your tickets with your cell phone. It's not even no paper distributed. You take your cell phone and show the cell phone, they scan your cell phone.
There you go.
Man, tickets is totally different. Standing in, you know how you stand in line for now, Dr. Myles, I know you never stand in line. You always had passes. They let you come up to the front of the line. They escorted you on in. Everybody else, like me, standing in line. But now, to leverage the playing field, you can do the same thing. And I got my cell phone. I get my ticket while I'm coming to the game. I got my ticket. I ain't got to stand in line. I go express. Boom. I'm on in. As a matter of fact, it's so advanced, most people don't realize that now, instead of I don't mean to put people through shock. I got to do a disclaimer. I'm not trying to play with nobody's intelligence that watches the MFL, but you can now take and order your food. Don't even have to leave your seat from your cell phone, and they bring your food. Your food already paid for, and that guy from the concession stand is bringing your food to you. You don't have to move. Technology is on another playing field, and all we saying is we giving people who have this type of vision, have these type of skills to come in the MFL and work those skills out. And by the time they go somewhere else, they taking those skills somewhere else and saying, you know what? These are the things that I can bring to you. Absolutely. Because most NFL cities, most Major League Baseball, most NHL, most soccer league, they haven't gotten to that point yet.
Technology, that's
so we telling our people, come on in the door. If you think you can work that technology, we letting you do that technology with the MFL. Absolutely. Don't even ask us. Just say, you know what, Dr. Myles, I want to take over the technology in this stadium and make sure that people have an experience when they come to our football games.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, you was you explained that so eloquently, you know, Mr. Tate, but you know, we still have to understand that life isn't over after 4 years for professional sports. I mean, if you want to stay around the game of professional sports and you want to get in it, and Mr. Tate, the best players don't make good coaches. You know what I mean? That's, and the guys that wasn't so good in the sport end up being great coaches and stuff. I mean, history will tell you that about it, but we just want people to understand what the MFL is about and the things that the MFL is doing and trying to bring to our audience. We want them to understand. We want you to feel a part of it. We have our own apparel. You can support your different franchises in the different states and stuff. So these are some of the things that we are excited about. We have people, very knowledgeable people like yourself, come on, and that's why the show called Inside the NFL, because we're not talking about football all the time. We're talking about the laboratory of change. More importantly, we talk about economic development.
That's right.
That's the key to economic development, and we want people to understand you have an opportunity here to experience what we are doing. You have an opportunity for internship here. You have an opportunity to talk to somebody like Mr. Tyrone Tate, a very knowledgeable individual about what we're doing. Maybe he'll invite us on his show sometime. I'm going to throw that out there to Mr. Tate. Maybe he'll invite us on his show, and I'm going to have him to give y'all the synopsis of his show that come on. Really great show. He think I'll be watching. I'll be waiting for him to invite me on. But I know his list is so extensive and vast. So, I'm just want people to understand that, and shout out to Chuck Barlow, our GM down there with the Georgia Warriors. He always doing a great job. And as with all the GMs. And like I say, we have to get used to that name, the Washington team. Even the president of the MFL, Bobby Wilson, the Redskins, was what the Washington team #1 draft choice in '91. Even we laugh about sometimes because he'll say the same thing. You gotta catch yourself. We have to say Washington team. But we're happy. I'm very supportive of all the professional teams in the Washington area. I wish them all well and stuff. But right now it's the MFL term. We want people to understand that we are the laboratory of change, Mr. Tate. And that's very important, man. We want people to understand that. We don't want people to sit back and you don't have to hate us. We didn't do anything for y'all to hate us. We here to enhance what's going on. Like me, I want to take the home game of the Washington Chiefs back to my alma mater. I want to adopt Cardozo High School because I know the way things from COVID and everything, the school's going to need a lot of help, and I'd like to be a help as far as not only financially, but even in volunteering, because we have a lot of players have to do community service hours. I also just going to be our 10th annual Hall of Fame dinner. We was first one to have it. Y'all got a strong alumni down there, Dunbar, but we beat you to it as far as this a Hall of Fame dinner. And we like to go there and we like to get some of the proceeds to my alma mater. We want to create put together some kind of academic scholarship as well as a sports scholarship for those deserving young people at Cardozo High School. And I chuckled a little bit when I said Cardozo, because that's not the right pronunciation. It's really Cardozo, but we don't say it. We say Cardozo. We don't want that O to get.
We don't want to let out too many secrets now, Dr. Myles. Leave that alone, Dr. Myles.
But in the crack, we want people to know we do know the correct pronunciation of my alma mater. It is Cardozo, but we call it Cardozo. We definitely want to have a meeting with the principal up there, and we want to know what can we do to help. They got a great AD up there, a woman doing a great job, and she know whatever I can do to help. That's what we're about. It's always reaching back, Mr. Tate, because Mr. Tate, we stood on some broad shoulders in our day. Now people have to stand on ours, and we understand that. When people don't understand what the significance of what you're doing, you know what I mean? It's not to glorify me. I really don't care about that. I'm 65 years old. You know what I mean?
Right,
I want to reach back and help these young people that's come along undecided, don't know exactly what they want to do. And Mr. Tate, more than anybody else, and we cut from the same cloth. A lot of young people don't know their niche. They're trying to find their niche. But if you come here, we're going to help you to find that. We're going to help you to find that niche. And that's very important. And I know it is for somebody like you. And that's why I'm so excited about that Watkins Award, man. Every time I come there, I just be excited. Very elegant black tie dinner, even y'all workshop. And next year, 2022, I want to see about maybe we can implement one of our workshop with the MFL there. That's something I want to ask you and your partner, see if that's something we can do.
Well, that's interesting that you would say something like that. I can't see anything wrong with it. I mean, clearly that sounds like a rocket ship going straight to the moon in itself, just the words itself. But I want to focus on something that you talk about in terms of the laboratory of change and what the MFL is capable of doing for individuals who are not athletes, who are not football players. Mm-hmm. I mean, what I want people who are listening to us today or whatever day that they listening to this particular show, I want you to go to the website.
We live.
Go to just go to the website. MFL is here. Go to the website. Allow your imagination to just explode. Let your imagination explode. And here's what I want you to do. Don't go to the website for the fact of yourself. Go to the website. Use your imagination for someone else, for a young man or a young lady on your list who just happen to be your son, your daughter, your niece, your nephew, your cousin, a neighbor, somebody that you know at a school that you work at or a building that you work in, and understand the opportunities that the MFL offers. If you don't see it, go to the NFL website, look at the job openings. The same job openings that they have at the NFL is the same job openings that we have at the MFL. The only difference is you ain't got to go through 19 layers of buffers. You can go straight to the front of the line and use your skill. If you say you went to college for 4 years and you majored in computer information systems, and just like I just talked about the ticket distribution, or I just talked about concession food, we so used to going to the stadium, standing in those long lines. If you haven't been to a stadium, one of the high-tech stadiums in a while, I encourage you to go. You go. The food is not the same. This ain't the food that you threw away. You say, well, I can't. Look, you can go to some of these stadiums now that I've been to around America. They serving 5-course meals. You can get the same thing that you can get in downtown. Now, I'm just talking about what I know. The same thing you can get in downtown DC at those exclusive restaurants. You can come and go into some of these exclusive stadiums and get that. If you got the mindset of customer service, they always say, well, young man, young lady, you don't have any experience. They don't want to give you a job because you ain't got no experience. You can come to the MFL and get that experience. You can prove to them that you understand customer service. We're going to give you the chance to prove to the next employee. We understand. Look, the average job only lasts 2 years. The average job only lasts 2 years. We used to take jobs, because of our grandparents and great grandparents and beyond, who knew that they were going to get a job and they was going to work there just like in the federal government. You're going to work there for 25 years, 30 years, 35 years and retire. Now, I'm not saying anything wrong with the federal government. As a matter of fact, wish I probably stayed in the federal government, but no, I wanted to go in corporate America and in those treacherous neighborhoods and find out that the average person only stayed in those companies for 2 years and they gone. As a matter of fact, it used to be when you showed your resume and you showed that you had 4 jobs in the past 6 years or 8 years, they would say, no, we can't hire you because you look like you too unstable. It just now you show somebody your resume and you show you've been working for the same person for the past 8 years, they say something wrong. Why you been working for the same person for 8 years? What do you mean? They think that you are not employable, that you just got stuck in a rut in one place. If you want those high-end jobs, you can't stay on one job doing one thing for more than 5 years, because if you do that, you cannot get employed nowhere. Somebody will pick you up. I always say it's 2 sides to every story. But those big jobs, you ain't gonna be making no 100, 200, 300, $600,000-$700,000 a year, and you only been working one job doing one thing for all your life. I don't care if you're an attorney, a doctor, you can't do one thing all the time. They need to see a broad resume that shows that you've been doing a lot of different things. So what the MFL will do for that person who goes and look at our website, it will allow you the opportunity to say, you know what, here's an opportunity for my son or my daughter or whomever for the MFL, let alone yourself. I'm saying to do that for somebody so you can help someone. You can refer someone to the MFL, just like Dr. Myles talked about the uniforms. Somebody can come in and help us to design the uniforms. We looking for someone that got that kind of vision. Say, well, you know what? I want to design the uniform. I want to design the merchandise. We talk about merch. That's money. So we need somebody to come in and design the merchandise. Look, it's okay because the companies that provide us with the merchandise, they do a great job. But we are not opposed to somebody coming in and say, you know what? I can do a better job. And I can design the logos. I can design the merchandise. And as long as it's selling, don't come in here and try to use us saying that, well, this is a laboratory of change and we don't want to make money. We want to make money. But making that money, we want to make sure that you got the skill set to take our business model to the next level. And so, Mr. Myles, with that said, I'm so grateful that I'm having the opportunity to work with a man that has moved from the name Mr. Myles to Dr. Myles. I got to keep hitting myself on the head.
You gotta go back to school sometimes to catch up with you. You gotta go back to school.
It's just so fascinating that you, Dr. Myles, never stop pursuing your education. Despite your age, 65 years old, you continue to pursue your education. So you practice what you preach to these kids in the street. You understand how valuable it is. And always saying, as you just mentioned, I'm not calling these other places out, but here you are trying to take a football game back to your alma mater to help them to raise money, because guess what? During the pandemic, you know that those clubs, the senior club, the debate club, the honors club,
Program,
the football, baseball, everything, they don't have no money.
Mm-hmm.
They can't sell enough donuts quick enough.
Mm-hmm.
So now you trying to bring your business over to their property and help them to raise money. You didn't say, hey, we got to find us a field, and no, You going again, what did we talk about? We've talked about in previous shows. We talk about going into communities and raising the quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
So we want people, when we come to your community, come and support us. Whether it's in Oklahoma, whether it's in Atlanta, whether it's in New York, whether it's in California, wherever
Yeah.
a game is going on,
Absolutely.
we need you to come out and support the MFL, because as we mentioned, the jobs, the scholarships that we're going to be giving away,
Entrepreneurship.
entrepreneurship. If you got a product or service that you want us to use, you want us to expose for you, the MFL is here. We waiting for you. You got a new technology, some new widget, a watch. We want to help support you. You say you got the best cupcakes. I'm a sweets person, so that's the only reason why I thought a cup. But you got the best cupcakes. You got the best ice cream. You got a product. Hey, the MFL is ready to put your product to the test with our customers. You say you got 3,000, you got 5,000 customers. Okay, come on to a MFL game. Tell all your customers that you got a deal for them. We'll work with you to try to get one of our sponsors to buy your product so we can give your product away. And if your product is as good as you say it is, one, we'll get a sponsor to buy the product. And two, the people who love your product, they're going to come to the game and say, the only reason I came to this game so I could get these cupcakes. Now, if it's in Washington, D.C., I'm going to fly to Washington, D.C. just to get me one of those cupcakes. And while we broadcasting the game, I'm going to sit there and eat the cupcake, because all of our games are going to be broadcast. You can go to YouTube. You can go to Facebook. I don't want to give too many cheap plugs, but you can go throughout the social networks. And guess what? You can see our game. You can read about our players. Dr. Myles, you know what? I could go on forever. Man, I'm excited, and man, I'm happy for you.
But I'm glad, but we're glad people are, and going back to what you were saying earlier about far, a good friend of mine told me, for a person that don't go far, he would never know how far he can go. You know what I mean? So these are the type of things, and we want these young millennials, we want y'all to understand that you could come here. If you went to school for sports management, it's going to be hard to get in that field. But here, we're going to have a lot of players that eventually these players going to get a shot.
That's right.
And what better place to work with them and get that rapport here now? Like I say, the MFL, of course, we're the laboratory of change, but we want people to understand that, we're willing to take chance on people. People take chances all the time. We have a great apparel company over in the UK. We did the deal with them. They really didn't know us, but they took a chance. They looked at the league and said, wait a minute, okay, let's do this. Because it always bothered me when people tell people, well, you don't have enough experience. Well, how are you going to have some experience if you don't give me the opportunity? We're going to give you the opportunity. The playing field is level here in the MFL, and we want people to understand. We want you to come experience the MFL. Come experience the MFL. Well, even with young kids, parents, if you want to, you don't know exactly, sometime with kids, we understand that. That's just how life is. But, we have programs, young entrepreneur program, conflict resolution, we have program, no thugs, no drugs. These are the types of programs that we have in the minor football league. So, we're willing to help, and we're willing to do with our programs. Our players have to do 100 hours of community service along with our dance team members. So, we're about enhancing what the community is doing. We're not trying to take anything. We don't want no shortcuts. We don't want nobody to give us nothing. We'll pay our way, but we want to be a part of the community. And these are not players you just going to see Saturday night. These are players that you're going to see in your community. These are guys that you looked up to in the high school field, They went to college. You didn't see them much. Now they're home. They got opportunity. What's more important than playing for a franchise in your state? Think about that. You know, Mr. Tate, think about that. Players are playing that you've seen. They're playing for the minor professional team in their area. Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, Florida. You know, think about that with these franchises. And you know, we can go to have that dispute. I don't want to get Mr. Tate started. Well, they say the ball players in Georgia. Miami said that's not true. And up here, we debating that because I always tell people, I don't know, DC still is the beast in the East. You know what I mean? So it's a little private joke that I say. I don't want nobody to think, because I'm MFL all through, and the MFL is here to, you know, like I said, we are the laboratory of change. And, you know, we didn't ask you, we don't ask people to, you know, support us. I mean, we're going to support you. You know, we want to be a part of what the community is doing. And I think now that people of color have to understand that, you know, let's leave Black Wall Street alone. It's gone now. This is the new laboratory of change. This is the new norm. People have an opportunity. We tell former players. I got a call from some players, and that was great. We want to give you opportunity to come from the field to the front office. A lot of y'all finished playing ball. You don't know what you want to do. You still want to stay around the game. Hey, these young men need you. You know what I mean? It's our duty to give back, you know. And, you know, like a person, it's just a lot required of you. And we have to understand that. So, you know, I'll give you a couple of minutes, Mr. Tate, because you always say some very encouraging words. And I'm just so happy to have you aboard with us, especially on the show. And I'm going to still throw this at you. We still waiting to get invited on the show, NFL Nation. But Mr. Tate is a genuine person. And why I say that, because he's from D.C. And not to say that people from other parts of the country not. It's just that I know we grew up here. We understand one thing about us. We'll help each other. That's one thing about it, and I'll help anybody. You know, in closing, Mr. Tate, let me give you a couple of words before we close out.
Well, only thing I want to say is the only thing we really do want them to give us, we do want them to give us one thing, Dr. Myles, and that one thing that we want you to give us is an opportunity. That's it. That's the only thing we want you to give us. The MFL, we want you to know, is the laboratory of change, and we coming into the communities to raise the quality of life.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, you know, with Mr. Tate, you know, real stand-up individual. I have so much respect for him. And, you know, one thing about us, we want people, as he say, we want you to experience the MFL. You know, remember the old saying, the greatest show on earth, it's just going to cost you 50 cents to see it. We're not going to charge you $500. We're going to charge you 50 cents to see one of the greatest show on earth and give people an opportunity to key affordable entertainment for people to come and experience what the MFL doing, the laboratory of change. We get ready to have our combines for our franchises all around the country. All you gotta do is look on all our social media platforms and you see what the different franchises, the dates that they have in their combine. You guys don't have to go cross country. You can play for the franchise in your area. All you have to do is come try. And I want to thank you again, Mr. Tate. As always, you've been listening to another edition of Inside the MFL. I'm your host, Dr. Richard D. Myles Sr. Thank you for joining. We'll see you next week.